Is a song from Led Zeppelin the key to everything being a remix? Will coronavirus force us to watch live concerts from screens? Is the upcoming 2020 election going to be influenced by the influencers? We'll unpack these topics and much more on the Business Management Podcast at the intersection of marketing, technology, media, and popular culture. We call it Disruptive FM. Roll the title.
It's Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Disruptive FM. Welcome to Disruptive FM, where business and culture collide. Sponsored by Microsoft and Branding Strategy Insider. With your host, Jeffrey Colon.
Okay, here we go.
What's up, everybody? Crazy times we're living in right now. Hope you're all safe and sound. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Disruptive FM, episode number 63. I'm Jeffrey Colon, head of brand studio for Microsoft Advertising. On the way, 3 trending topics for us to chop up. We'll also hear from Danielle Wiley, the CEO of Sway Group, looking at influencer marketing and politics. Good stuff coming your way, so let's get to it.
Here are this week's trending topics. Stairway to Court.
The legendary rock band Led Zeppelin won a major copyright battle this past week over claims that parts of their signature song Stairway to Heaven were stolen. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld a jury verdict that Stairway to Heaven did not infringe on a 1968 song called Taurus by the band Spirit. In doing so, the court overturned a controversial precedent the Ninth Circuit has used in many copyright cases. The original lawsuit, filed in 2014, claimed that the guitar introduction to Stairway, this one, plagiarized the instrumental of Taurus. This has been a controversy going back 5 decades. It was even talked about in the famous web documentary Everything is a Remix, which noted that not only did Zeppelin find influence from Spirit for Stairway to Heaven, but other songs as well. Yet the inverse ratio rule, a controversial rule that the Ninth Circuit has used in governing copyright cases since 1977, came into play in this case. The rule notes that if one party can prove that the infringing party has a high degree of access to a plaintiff's work, then a lower standard of proof is used to determine if the songs are similar. The ruling is not only a win for Led Zeppelin, but will likely benefit the entire music business. The industry has seen a number of copyright infringement cases over the past few years. In 2015, Pharrell and Robin Thicke were famously ordered to pay $5 million after jurors found that their song Blurred Lines infringed Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It Up. In the original opinion laid out by the Ninth Circuit, the court invoked the inverse ratio rule, but later removed all mention of it in the court's amended opinion. With the court's decision to overturn the inverse ratio rule, it could cease being used in copyright infringement cases going forward. In other words, brace yourself. The song remains the same.
Trending topics on DFM. Corona canceled.
South by Southwest, Ultra Music Festival, Winter Music Conference, Coachella. Yes, all these are music events, live big festival music events. But what do they have in common this year? They've been canceled or postponed to later dates due to the coronavirus pandemic. In a move to slow the spread of the virus, organizers thought it was best to cancel or postpone the events to flatten the curve and protect the herd. And although this is devastating in the short run for events and the economy around events, it's the right decision to make for the long tail. Now that we have more information on how exponential COVID-19 works, all it takes is one person who has it, and they could ultimately infect the amount of people that attend one of these events in 45 days. So what does this mean for live events moving forward? Well, live stream video could replace it. Bring more people from around the world together in virtual simulations, more chat engagement, possibly more one-to-one conversations while the event is going on. But we're still in early days. And besides, while we're trying to protect the herd, we're still herd animals. We like being around others in live settings. It's hard to see how much people want to get down to Major Lazer, watching it on video without a feeling it component. Still, this could uproot the live music industry as we've known it. Those events where maybe only 100 people are at and it's a special event. Well, that could be the future. Right now, though, in any capacity, even if it's artists performing in a room all by themselves, just streaming to video, hey, that's better than no music at all.
Trending topics on DFM. Election influence.
Social influencers in the 2020 election. It makes sense when influencers influence us to travel to some faraway land in the world. But can they help push us to vote? Well, of course. Who remembers MTV's Rock the Vote in a pre-Instagram world? Danielle Wiley is the CEO of the Sway Group, and she works with influencers a lot when it comes to brand activations. But we were interested in her point of view when it came to how influencers could influence what lever to pull come November, especially in this current situation. Danielle was kind enough to join us on Microsoft Teams last week to talk about this topic and how it may play out in the polls. Let's check it out.
Yeah, I mean, the candidate who obviously comes to mind is Mike Bloomberg. He really jumped into that a couple of weeks ago. Of course, it's now all a moot point that he's dropped out. But he did that very well-publicized campaign with a bunch of really high-following meme accounts. I thought it was pretty brilliant in that it's a great way to reach the 18 to 24-year-old demographic who is certainly not watching TV and consuming traditional TV advertising. So if you want to hit those young people, using Instagram is a really great way to do it. I would say that TikTok would probably be just as effective. I don't know that he saw results from that. Obviously, what we saw from the election results in Super Tuesday, I would say it probably wasn't super effective in driving action, although it did get that reach out there. But the interesting thing to us in looking at the election and influencer marketing is that influencer marketing is governed by the FTC, whereas campaign advertising is governed by the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, versus the Federal Trade Commission. The rules within each of those are very, very different. So I think one of the things that politicians need to be very aware of are just disclosures, what's okay, what's not okay. We're seeing a lot of content out there that's kind of blurring the lines. Twitter is a great place for politicians. Obviously, there's a lot of chatter on there. You can't advertise on Twitter with political advertising, so we've been seeing some candidates kind of try to skirt that by getting people who have endorsed them to talk about them nonstop on Twitter, which I think is a little bit funky and on the border of what's okay and what's not okay. But it's certainly an interesting space right now.
Influencers may not just be here to sell you stuff anymore. They may be here to tell you who to vote for. That was Danielle Wiley, CEO of the Sway Group.
It's Disruptive FM.
Communications.
The Business Culture Podcast.
They say if you listen closely, you can hear the sound of today.
Listening to Disruptive FM, the culture of business. I'm Jeffrey Colon. Thanks for tuning in. What an insane week. We're happy to have you here, and we'd be happy to connect with you on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Disruptive FM, and connect with me personally at DJ GEOFFE. Huge thanks to our sponsor partners for their support. Microsoft Advertising, Intelligent Connections. Create smarter customer journeys in the era of customer-centric marketing. Learn more at microsoftadvertising.ai. And Branding Strategy Insider, which serves 50,000 plus senior level marketers, CMOs, and business decision makers each and every day. Distributed by partners such as the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, Google News, and Forbes. Branding Strategy Insider. It is the leading resource for thought leadership in brand strategy and brand management. If you don't know them, please give them a look at brandingstrategyinsider.com. And thanks to Iographer. So we all know how awesome these smartphone cameras have become. Iographer creates accessories for them, cases, stabilizers, tripods, microphones, stuff like that, to make your mobile videos look almost like the pros. And if you're inside, you're going to need them. All their products are easy to assemble in minutes and are very budget friendly. Whether you're a large agency or just a lone operator, find up your storytelling game. You need to check them out at iographer.com. In the background, music from Fabe DJ versus Sacchi. It's a track called I'm Coming Out. The Jamie Lewis restyled club mix DFM edit. Out now on Purple Music.
And now, Disruptive FM presents... What?
What kind of shit is that?
Come on!
You know it's bad when the following notification comes to you. ISIS. Yes, that ISIS is not traveling to Europe due to coronavirus fears. We wish this was an Onion headline, but it's not. Reversing its previous calls for jihadists to target the area, the terrorist group advised supporters not to enter the land of the epidemic. It also appeared to back guidance to the public to wash their hands regularly. All right, at least they got that correct. What makes this so insane is while ISIS, a terrorist organization, issued this warning, we still have tens of thousands of people on beaches in Florida and getting on cruise ships. All due to, of course, a lack of information. And of course, they're going to fly back somewhere else and possibly expose others. 100 years ago, our grandparents were called to go fight a war. Now all we're asking people to do is stay home and sit on the couch. Maybe read a book. You can do this. And if you can't, if you think it means you're upset because you can't go out and brunch for a few weeks, well, to this, we say...
What? Come on!
All right, here are some stories, 3 to be precise, that are bubbling under. You might want to pay closer attention to them. It's a segment we call On the Radar.
Here's what's on our radar. Number 1.
U.S. airlines have asked for more than $50 billion in government assistance as they struggle to cope with plummeting demand due to the coronavirus outbreak. The pandemic will drive most airlines worldwide into bankruptcy by the end of May. The travel industry is reeling with tour organizations, airlines, hotel groups, and cruise companies under siege from customers seeking refunds.
Number 2.
Starbucks is offering free mental health services to its frontline workers and their families in what human resources professionals say is one of the most high-profile programs for hourly service workers to date. Starting next month, full and part-time workers and immediate family members can be connected by a third party with counselors in person or online. The chain, with 200,000 baristas and other cafe workers, said it made the move in response to their feedback on benefits before the coronavirus began spreading in the U.S.
Number 3.
Is advertising all dead during our current pandemic? Some advertisers are pivoting to public service announcements instead of canceling their media spends. At one point in time, broadcast stations were required by the Federal Communications Commission to allocate a certain amount of time to public service. This meant that they had to give away a certain amount of airtime to nonprofit groups or make other announcements that are deemed to serve the community. The regulations used to be that 1/2 hour per week was the amount of time needed to be given to community service. In 2012, the FCC relaxed that standard and has, for the most part, left the public service announcement requirements to be dealt with by the local broadcast association. Many haven't run much at all. But now with so many ads running like PSAs during this health crisis, this could make brands rethink how they spend their money on product and purpose going forward. Okay, that's a wrap for another episode, number 63. Shout out to Danielle Wiley of the Sway Group for joining us with some very interesting and timely insights. Next week, author Melanie Diesel of Story Fuel is here to help us produce content or talk about producing content in a post-COVID-19 world. As always, thank you for your time and attention. We'd love for you to rate, review, and especially subscribe to the show. We're everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. Once again, the socials, Twitter and Instagram at Disruptive FM. And of course, check out cool content from our sponsors at MicrosoftAdvertising.ai, BrandingStrategyInsider.com, and iographer.com. Until next time, from everyone here at DFM, I'm Jeffrey Colon. And don't forget, protect the herd by flattening the curve. Keep 6 feet away from others. If you're over 60, stay home and become an introvert for a bit. We'll catch you next week. Stay safe.
You've been listening to Disruptive FM with Microsoft Communications designer Jeffrey Colon. All thoughts are his own. Disruptive FM is produced in Los Angeles by Feeler Media.